power that is to embed in another person's aura effectively enough to steer that tornado, and that physics comes because of the low frequency content. Now, I have just touched lightly on a whole bunch of subjects here that are extremely controversial, but I would like to point out that everything I'm saying here is a summary of what governments should be. Opposite of religion wars, we are saying religion wars and personality worship are poison and unnecessary once you understand the physics, the science, the electrical engineering. And that's really should be the end of religion wars on our planet. So I am doing a politics of peacemaking here. I'm saying the physics of what it is to make peace is to make an electric field centripetal, which is precisely what fractality and phase conjugation is. So that's the bulk of what I wanted to say today.
Jerusalem, they hadn't opened the superhighway yet. And he drops us at the gate to the old city that's nearest to the western wall, to the temple, which is a very holy place to Jews, and which had just been cleared. The things had calmed down a little bit. It was August. The war was over in beginning of June. And it was all very spontaneous. I really wasn't thinking about it. You could see the young Israeli soldiers carrying weapons, looking very proud and very happy because they had taken the center. And you could see the Palestinians feeling pretty much the opposite. They clearly were not happy and were not likely to be happy. And it was a very moving scene. I mean, it was very, couldn't really get a sense. So I start walking towards the wall, and a guy grabs me and puts a cardboard hat on my head, which is what they do. And I go up to the wall, and I just started crying. I mean, there was really nothing else to do. It was both, gee, this is really dramatic. There's this old temple here. And it was also, there's this people that are really turned on, and these people that are really unhappy. And for better or worse, I made a simple prayer. I said, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And it was either a very stupid or a very smart thing to say, depending on your point of view. I didn't think much more of it. We toured the country. I went back, of course, and spent some time in Paris, and spent some time in London, and went back to Boston and went back to work. A year later, I'm sitting in my apartment in Newton, Massachusetts, over the turnpike, practically, and there's a TV show on called The Prisoner, hosted by, the star was Patrick McGowan. And it's a metaphysical series, and I won't go into it. It's a spy who tries to get out of the spy business, and they kidnap him, and he doesn't know which side kidnapped him, and anyhow, it goes on and on. There's an episode, of course, with a code, because spies are into codes. It was actually the added episode that they hadn't even planned to do, the one called Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, if anyone remembers, about out-of-body experiences. This was in 1968. It was almost exactly a year to the day from when I'd been in Jerusalem. And along comes this episode with the code, and something in my brain goes click and says, I just wonder. I wonder if I should look at the beginning of the Hebrew Bible. Well, I didn't even know if I had a copy in the house. But I searched around, and I actually found the printed book form of the Hebrew Bible that they gave me when I was bar mitzvah. It was, my neighbor gave it to me. And I never really opened it. And so I opened to the first page, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And there's the Hebrew line. And I don't read Hebrew words. So my eyes fall on the letters. It's like when you're seeing news film of an Aeroflot plane landing, and it says Aeroflot in Cyrillic. You maybe don't know Cyrillic, but you can dope it out because some of the letters are the same, and you know what it's supposed to say. Your eyes fall on the letters. You try to figure out what it says. Well, my eyes fell on the sequence of letters at the beginning of Genesis. And all of the old programs in my brain from the math team class went off and said, this is crazy. This isn't language. This is a pattern. Somebody made a puzzle here.
The human hand is the human embodiment of a general principle that projects consciousness into physics. And if we look at that general principle of projection from all the possible directions we can look at it, then we can, in theory, take any path possible in consciousness or in physics.
So what we're finding is that there is a general principle that models the way we project our will into the world, which is an analogy for the way, if I can say this, God's will is projected into the world through us. That this is a cascade of creation, that we are in the line of this cascade, and that this is a model of it. So that's what we have here. We have a natural, universal gesture language turned into a formal system for recording and playing back meditational exercises, which can become the true basis for a science of consciousness, which in modern terms becomes a religion, or several religions, actually. In fact, that's also what this model talks about. This is very controversial material because, in the words of a friendly scholar, it can't be so. And what, of course, he means is that if it is so, then there's a lot of readjustment to make. And I try to explain to people that this really doesn't say anything like, I'm right, you're all wrong. It says rather that this is a deeper level that integrates a whole range of material. And it demonstrates mostly that what the scholars have been saying and what the religious people have been saying, and what the different religious people have been saying, they've all been right, but in their own contexts. And that if you go deeper, then you find something more common.